Is Disney finally getting their act together and realizing what they've been doing to their boy brands? Well, according to this Variety article, that might be the case, with them coming out with saying that Disney's Boy Trouble Studio seeks original IP to win back Gen Z men amid Marvel and Lucasfilm struggles. Now, if that's actually the case, that's actually kind of phenomenal, but they wouldn't have had to do this if they hadn't completely alienated the male demographic from their franchise for the last 10 years. But enough of that, let's get into this article and see exactly what they're saying, why they think that Disney might be on a better track now. So, Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty aren't the only ones looking for a prince. Obviously, that makes sense. Leadership at Walt Disney Studios has been pressing Hollywood creatives in recent months. Multiple sources tell Variety for motives that will bring young men back to the brand in a meaningful way. Young men is defined here by source age as 13 to 28, aka the Gen Z. Now, anyone can tell you that Disney has had a boy problem. It is literally a girl brand company that wanted to bring in some boy brands, and then they just girl brand them up and completely destroy them. Like, okay, saying they completely destroy is a bit too much. They just gone into the wrong direction so far, so let's see if they can actually get things back together and bring back the boys. I personally doubt it, but we'll see what we can do here. Now this article goes ahead and goes by doing the first duh. Oh, I like that little sass in this article. Well done. Every film studio is looking for better ways to convert young audience into habitual moviegoers. Numerous studies show that Gen Z men in particular are a lonely, gaming-obsessed group who were hampered in their formative years by COVID-19 lockdowns. First off, let me just say, it wasn't just the boys that were severely hampered, it was also girls. That entire generation was severely hampered by COVID-19. Now, the kids who were growing up from the 90s, they had 9/11 to deal with. The kids in this generation have COVID to deal with. This is the defining thing of their generation. So yes, it's going to be a bit much. And yes, the lonely epidemic, that I think has more so probably to do with social media than I think with COVID-19. And gaming obsessed, like if your movies are better, if entertainment was better, they wouldn't be gaming obsessed. They would be film obsessed. But your films don't live up to the gaming sphere, so that's why. Not the easiest segment to grasp, but what's surprising producers, writers, and other partners in the larger industry is that Disney has been calling for original concepts to lure the demo back to the movies. As I said before, that would not have happened if you actually had released a great Star Wars franchise. Let's remember that Force Awakens grossed $2 billion at the box office. And it was only go up from there. But then you had The Last Jedi that destroyed the fandom, that divided right down the middle. And then you had The Rise of Skywalker that just was a flat out horrible movie. It only made $1 billion. The Last Jedi made $1.5 billion. So you can just see the decline happening there, that Disney just did not understand its audience and did not treat its characters well. Finn was thought of an afterthought in both of the followed-up movies. Poe Dameron, it wasn't even really there. Like, he was there, but they just discarded him. They mistreated him. It was not a good time for those movies. If you're a male viewer, the stories were not all that great in that franchise. And then after Endgame, we really haven't had that many great films after that. I can't really think of anyone that I thought was like, wow, this is amazing. This is back to old Marvel. No, it just was a slow decline to the Marvel TV shows that just diluted the brand, in my opinion. This is the same Disney whose multi-billion-dollar content engine, Marvel and Lucasfilm, have stated men of all ages over almost 2 decades since the company acquired them. The source says Disney has been seeking new IP and pitches such as splashy global adventures and treasure hunts, as well as seasonal fare like films for the Halloween corridor. The calls come as the Star Wars machine struggles to produce any film project, and the superhero genre sheds audience by the minute. You want to know why that's happening to your 2 biggest male demographic studios? Because of leadership. You have Kathleen Kennedy, who should be gone by now. Like, if you actually cared about your demographics, about getting the male audience, you kicked her out of the door as soon as the Star Wars franchise was over. You've been like, hey, Kathleen Kennedy, thank you so much. You're the greatest producer we ever had. You know, it's time for you to step down. Kathleen Kennedy isn't leaving until she wants to leave. That's what we've been proving time and time again. So there's no fixing Star Wars until she's gone. And honestly, I don't even know if that's going to fix Star Wars, because right now, As far as I can tell, once she leaves, you're going to give it to what's that gentleman's name who made this Clone Wars? David something. I've purchased mine from my brain. It's a dude who works on all the animated films that honestly aren't all that great. It's mediocre at best. He's completely in love with his Ahsoka Tano character that should have died back at the end of the Clone Wars, but he just keeps bringing her back. I can't remember his name, so I'll put it here and you guys can let me know what your thoughts about him. But as far as Marvel goes, Kevin Feige, he should be gone. After Endgame is over, you should have had a bit of a hiatus. You should have let Kevin Feige go. You should have been like, hey, Kevin Feige, thanks. Been great working with you. Time to get some fresh blood, a new perspective in here, and go from there. Maybe you give him a tryout after that, but he's had failure after failure after failure. Like, and you're still holding on to this dude. Like, yes, he was there for the golden age of Marvel, but he did not make the golden age of Marvel. There are a lot of other people that are involved with that, and Kevin Feige is proving that he just can't not right the ship by himself. So, time to let him go and bring in some new creatives. At least that's my prediction for the Marvel Universe if you want that to return. Now, while two insiders say the mandate to recruit young males goes as high as the C-suite, the task primarily has fallen on David Greenbaum, the former Searchlight Pictures co-head brought on in 2024 to run Disney's live-action film business. That label has been sorely lacking in guy-lean fare like the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise for nearly 10 years. The studio insiders say the property is in active development, though not in its latest report iteration involving Margaret Robbie. Thank God for that. Now, don't get me wrong, Margaret Robbie, she's nice, but this is more so like the Johnny Depp centered universe. If you're gonna have a Pirates of the Caribbean film, you need to have Johnny Depp at the core of it. Let's just be honest here. He is the Pirates of the Caribbean. If you don't have him, you don't have his wacky or unique personality on set. What are you gonna have for a film? Like even the last film, it wasn't great, but it still was enjoyable because of Johnny Depp. Now, will they actually have to get him back? We'll see. I know that Disney's wanting to start another film, so we'll see what happens there. To say nothing of the lackluster attempt to reboot and hand off Indiana Jones in 2023, which earned $383 million worldwide on a $300 million budget before marketing costs. Now that right there is very big because usually it's accepted that okay, you have the budget and you will multiply that by 2.5 for the premiere or for the marketing. So that film had to make like what 650 million. Geez, that was a lot of money that film had to make back, and it couldn't even do that. So that just shows you how poor the leadership over Lucasfilm with Kathleen Kennedy was. That film brought in such a little bit amount of money, and it was Indiana Jones, one of the greatest adventure stories ever made. And yes, okay, George Lucas probably did some damage to it with Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. That's fair. But this film, it just never should have been made. Now, there was a video game that came out not that long ago that was actually pretty good. I've not yet played it myself, but from what I've heard from everyone, that was a pretty great addition to the franchise. So, honestly, if you want to do more Indiana Jones, probably the game is probably the best way to go. You can't really replace Harrison Ford, in my opinion, unless you want to do the whole AI stuff. And I don't think you should. Just leave the films as they are, create something new and fresh, or take better care of your franchise, but Disney doesn't seem to be capable of doing either these days. A Disney source says that movies for Gen Z men are part of an overall strategy across all labels, but no more urgent than any other quadrant. Oh, no. See, we care about all of our quadrants. Gen Z men, we want them, but they don't matter as we go ahead and try to buy Fortnite. Now, they do mention that later in the article, so did jump ahead here, but that's just to say, like, Disney, you don't have Gen Z. Gen Z is gone, at least for the dudes. You have the girls, sure, but how long are they going to last? Like, I don't know, man. It doesn't seem like you're going to be producing anything really all that great. Greenberg recently hired Derek Creek, the savvy former Paramount Pictures co-chief, to assist in this effort. Greenbaum is beloved by talent, but has largely existed in the prestige indie sphere, while Creek shepherd films from franchises like Sonic the Hedgehog, A Quiet Place, and Smile. Some think the push for this demographic is simply Greenbaum trying to put his stamp on live action, yet numerous power players spoke with Variety sees something ominous in the tea leaves. They better, because the male demographic is gone from Disney at this point in time. When the execution is correct, Disney's sweet spot at the movies has been millennials. The generation rapidly consumed classic vault titles like The Lion King, 101 Dalmatians, and Lilo and Stitch as kids. Now they bring their children in droves to see live action reboots. This year's billion-dollar grosser, Lilo and Stitch, over-indexed with men and boys. Disney previously said Gen Z is a different story. Yeah, they haven't had any great films for Disney. Like, I can say, as someone who grew up with one Dalmatians, The Lion King, and Lilo and Stitch, and Mulan, there's no great stories that came out recently. You have Moana, it's fine, but that's purely a chick movie. You have Frozen, again, purely a chick movie. Where is the amazing, amazing films that boys can get into from Disney? And they just don't exist. That is just a fact. Disney cannot cater to boys. They have lost that ability. They have no idea how to do that anymore. Built-in interest is not nearly as guaranteed for such an audience, which propelled Warner Bros. A Minecraft movie to nearly $1 billion haul that was a game Gen Z played as very small kids. Yeah, if you don't know Minecraft, then what have you been doing for your life? Like, Minecraft is so massive. Like, Minecraft was big when I was a kid, and that predates Gen Z. So, yeah, Minecraft is pretty massive. It was no surprise that film was going to do well. It was a surprise that it was going to hit $1 billion, though. I had my money staked on that it was going to make maybe 600 million, maybe 500 million. The fact that it made $1 billion just kind of blew my mind away. Not to mention the euphoria viral moments it created for young men, filming key moments inside multiplexes and sharing them on platforms like TikTok. See also Universal Pictures' glutinous trend in 2022 when Gen Z bros packed theaters in suites and tears for Minions The Rise of Gru. Yeah, that one did go crazy, The Rise of Gru. But I think Minecraft was a next level bigger. Like, I've never really seen Gen Z or young guys act the way they did for the Minecraft movie, the way they did when that movie came out. Now, I know there were reports that people didn't like the way that Gen Z boys were acting, and I completely concur. Like, dudes, settle down. But at the same time, it's great to see that people were actually energetic and excited. Oh, and I'm sure the theaters were just loving, like, hey, you want $30 worth of popcorn just a throw? Okay, here you go. So they probably made a killing on that movie, and they probably wish they could have a Minecraft movie being released every single weekend. Because right now, theaters have been struggling hardcore. As it stands, Disney is in the line with Sony Pictures and Paramount in its market share for Gen Z, 10% of ticket buyers in 2024. That's 2 points above Universal and 2 points below Warner Bros. But Disney is not leaving the job for acquiring Gen Z entirely up to the film group. And this is what I was talking about before. Concurrent to Greenbaum's hire, the corporation bought a $1.5 billion equity stake in the juggernaut Fortnite. Great, you got the film rights, right, Disney? Right? Which will incorporate Disney iconic stable of characters. Two sources say Disney does not, however, enjoy movie rights to Fortnite itself, which would seem a no-brainer luring in Gen Z to theaters. So what? All you have is the ability to have your princesses go shoot each other. You're going to have Moana hunt down Cinderella. You're going to have Mulan taking out Ariel. You're going to have, what, maybe Prince Philip taking on Eric? Like, what the heck are we going on here? You have one job, Bob Iger. Get those movie rights. You have nothing to do in the gaming sphere. Yes, you're trying to make Disney into more of a tech company. You're trying to get into gaming. But every time we think that Disney might be trying to save itself, it does something ridiculous as this. What in the world are you doing? Someone please replace Bob Iger already. The man has no clue what he's doing at this point. Yes, Disney was the unrefuted king of the box office last year. It will win again this year with two films potentially crossing the 1 billion mark. Avatar Fire and Ash and Zootopia 2. Now, Avatar, yes, but I don't know if you can give Disney the credit for that. That's more of James Cameron universe, and Avatar is a really weird universe. You don't hear people talking about the first Avatar film at all. You don't hear people talking about the second Avatar film really at all. Like, it comes up once in a while, but it's not a major impact on culture. The Avatar films are just weird. Like, I don't understand why they make billion-dollar films, but they do. You would expect more of a culture impact from them, but it is what it is. Zootopia 2, Zootopia did blow up when that came out, and I do expect that to do very well, especially amongst the furry community. Jeez, the people are going to love that. So I'm not quite sure how Zootopia 2 is going to do, but I'm expecting it to do quite well. So yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, but it's not really thanks to Disney anything they're doing currently. They're both sequel films and trilogies, or I guess not trilogy, but in universe have been established. So it's not really anything new for Disney. Four movies from four Disney labels have grossed more than 1 billion in the past 16 months. No other studio has had one in that time frame. Fair, but still, I don't know if you can really give Disney all that much praise for that. So it's staggering to rival studios and dealmakers that Disney is looking to blaze new trails after years of being the envy of the town, having counted for so long on sure things from the world of Iron Man and the Jedi. And you could have done that if you would have done better with your franchises. If you would let them rest, if you would treat them with more respect, you could probably continue that up till now. Disney CEO Bob Iger confirmed as much on a quarterly earnings call this month, saying this film group won't favor existing IPs over original material. The priority, Iyer said, is to put out great movies. Except for you've been failing at that. I don't have any faith in your abilities right now, Disney. Maybe that'll change. I hope it does. But right now, I'm not going to bet on you right now. Walt Disney Studios declined to provide comment for this story. Much has been written about the narrowing audience for the superhero movies. The performance of Marvel's latest release, Fantastic Four First Steps, which aimed to launch yet another superhero franchise led by Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby, failed to meet expectations. You want to know why? Because people don't really care that much for Pedro Pascal, especially his kind of gay antics. The film I heard was okay, it was fine, but Marvel has lost its shine. It is really struggling right now. You really need to let it rest and come up with some really major hitters again, like Iron Man, Captain America First Avenger, and Thor. You need to go back to the originals. I had this argument with a guy at work that you need to have center focused piece films and not these giant ensemble films. We need one hero to root behind, tell one great story, and build from there. Marvel doesn't have that ability anymore. They just tell one single character story. At least that's in my opinion. That's despite good reviews, a promising opening weekend, and the full attention of Marvel czar Kevin Feige. Star Wars has not produced a film in 7 years. A big screen adaptation of Disney's Plus hit The Mandalorian is coming next year. Yeah, that's we'll see if that does anything, because it's been a long time since Mandalorian has come out. The time to make that film was probably about 2 years ago, and that was the time to release it. And you're completely failed on that regard. So, will there be any hype for The Mandalorian? Maybe? Hopefully? I doubt it though. One top film executive at Disney rival says every studio should be looking for originals as sequels and reboots continue to exhaust the culture, even if they are packing in moviegoers in the short term. And they're not going to be doing that for much longer. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this article? Honestly, it's a fine article. I really doubt that Disney's actually going to make a course correction without more failures. You need to get rid of Bob Iger. You need to get rid of Kevin Feige, and you need to get rid of Kathleen Kennedy if you want those studios to be changed. There needs to be a massive purge. I don't want people to lose their jobs, but on the creative side, you gotta get all this old blood out of there. You gotta get some new, fresh blood, some new, fresh ideas. You gotta go back to what made the Marvel films great. Is you have these character-centered films, just the one main hero. Too more often does Marvel want to have these giant ensemble films, and I'm sorry, like that works for the Guardian of the Galaxy and the Avengers movies, but those are massive event films. You need the smaller, like $50 to $30 million budget films that we can get invested in these heroes that have low pressure. They don't have to do very well in the box office, that we can just come and enjoy. When you put all this pressure on every film to make $1 billion, you're just asking for a disaster, and that's so far what Marvel and Lucasfilm have been saying. But you guys let me know what your thoughts down below. Leave a like if you liked the video. Leave a dislike if you did not. I can't wait to hear from you. Have a good day now. Take care now. Bye.